youtube.com/MayhewMayhem. That's youtube.com/MayhewMayhem.
Hello and welcome to another episode of 30 Minutes of Mayhem. I am your host, my name is Michael Mayhew, and I am here with my co-hosts.
What's up, everybody? It's me, Greg. Once again, we are joined by the one man who will... damn it, I can't... Okay. What's up, everybody? It's me, Greg. And we are joined once again by the guy who loves eating shit so much he should have been on Two Girls, One Cup.
It's James.
Also, remember, everybody, Minutes of Mayhem is available on YouTube, iTunes, Android, Stitcher, and Spreaker. All you have to do is search MayhewMayhem. That's MayhewMayhem. And make sure to rate us 5 stars.
And help us afford to continue doing the show by donating to 30 Minutes of Mayhem via PayPal. Just use the email address in the description. 30minutesofmayhem@gmail.com.
As I said, welcome to 30 Minutes of Mayhem, the podcast your mother can be ashamed of. And tell me, James, why is this the podcast your mother can be ashamed of?
Because of dicks. Not because we have dicks, but because we are dicks.
That is exactly correct. On this episode, we have everyone's favorite guest, Mahoney.
Hi, everybody.
This is the 69th episode. So, of course, we're going to talk about some fucked up stuff. But before we do, I'm going to actually talk about some fucked up stuff with this little story I have for you guys that I've been saving. Fits perfectly for this episode.
Can't wait.
Many years ago, as most of my stories start out, because I am currently on a 2-year dry spell, my ex-girlfriend and I decide to try 69ing. Neither one of us had done it, so we figured, why not? Let's give it a go. I'm on the bottom of this 69, and she's trying to get positioned correctly. She's on top of me, and she's sitting like too far down. I can't really get to the puss that well, so repositions. So she kind of like sits up, scoots back, and goes too far back to where she literally sits on my face, and I can feel her pucker touching my forehead. And I was like, wow. So I start laughing. She tries to reposition again, and we're too close to the edge of the bed. Her leg slips off the side, and her pelvis/puss slams directly down into my nose. And when it slams into my nose, I am having like kung fu movie flashes to where I feel like she just like 1-inch punched me in the nose, and that the bones in my face are going to go back up into my skull and kill me. Because I am in a tremendous amount of pain, and I'm temporarily blinded thinking, this is how I'm going to fucking die. I'm going to be smothered by vagina. And ideally, a lot of people would like to go out that way, but I'm seeing stars, thinking my nose is broke, but I got hit so hard it actually made snot come out of my nose that it wasn't blood.
Wow.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the reason this is the podcast your mother can be ashamed of.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I bet. Jesus Christ.
That was my first ever.
Wow.
That was my first ever 69 experience.
Wow.
I just have this replay in my head of it happening, and just like you being beaten in the face with a vagina.
Beaten in the face.
So because this is episode 69, and I just told a little bit story about 69ing, for this first topic, I want to talk a little bit more about, 69ing. So the topic is 69ing. Is it worth the hype? Or is the hype worth it? Is it even worth doing? If every single one of your experiences are experience, the answer is no. So what we're trying to do with this first topic, because Greg is never 69'd, is we're going to try to discuss between the other three of us and determine for Greg whether it's even worth it for him to give it a shot, or for you guys. But I braved it out, I guess, if you will. Although the fear was there, my second and third, and how many ever times I've done it, I couldn't tell you. The fear was there of getting my nose broke by a puss. The fear was there, but I was able to fight through it. The only female I've done it with is a little bit taller, not taller than me, but taller than most girls, because for some reason I've determined that most females that are short. This girl was a little bit above that average. I think I want to say she was like 5'8", because she was taller and because I'm taller. The positioning was kind of like super awkward, to where like either she was like too far down to where she had a weird angle, or like too far up to where I had a weird angle, and we couldn't get the positioning correct because of her height and my height. I did it quite a few times. Like each time was just more frustrating than what it was really worth. A couple suggestions that was made to me was, instead of you being on the bottom, why don't you be on the top? And I said I don't see how that's going to make any difference, because I feel like it's a height issue between the two of us. Our heights is what's making this awkward. If she was a little bit shorter, it might be more worth it. So I tried being on top once, but I always had the fear of my leg slipping off the edge of the bed and just jamming what little dick I do have like into some of her teeth or something, and getting like cut open and bleeding out and dying.
Like her clenching her jaws and just ripping your tip off.
Yeah, well, that's pretty much all I have is the tip. But it's just, we tried that I think once that I can remember, and it was even harder for her to do, and it was just awkward as fuck. So my answer to is 69ing worth it. You should try it at least once. Hopefully not nearly get your nose broke like I did, but you should try it at least once to know if it's your cup of tea, or not. Maybe it's your shot of whiskey. And
Oh God.
I would say try it at least once, but other than that, through my personal experience, I know I'll try it again. If any female ever lets me touch them again in my life, I'll try it. I'll try it again. I absolutely will. But from my experience that I've had thus far, I would say try it once, but it's not fucking worth it. The hype doesn't live up to what it actually is.
I think it's great. It's the only way I can get off during oral sex. Only time ever. And I've only done it once. Like, I mean, not 69, but during oral sex. So it's kind of a new thing for me. So I'm like, yeah, it don't happen for me. Oral sex. Yeah.
Well,
absolutely impossible.
I've only been
2 hours, 1 hour, 20 minutes. Not at all.
I've only been able to get off twice during oral, so I think either she was really bad at it or I just can't do it.
That's not
it was great. I personally like eating vagina. I think it's got like its own like specific taste. Like each girl has a different taste of their vagina, and I think it's great. I think I've eaten like 5 pussies, which isn't like a lot, but I mean there's a variety out there. You know, there's the meaty ones, and then there's like the little male sloths. Anyways, I've had something kind of happen to me like Mike, but not as severe. But I think it's worth it if you find somebody that's like he found somebody else too. Maybe you need somebody, just your right size. But so at least try it once, like Mike said. But I think it's worth it.
I am terrible at eating puss, but I think we've already covered that. So, so you say try it at least once and you like it.
Oh yeah.
I'm like half and half with this thing, because I've done it before a couple times, but I don't like receiving. I like giving, but I don't like receiving.
That's what I'm
And
fucking talking about. Oh, sorry. I'm just like, I'm so bad at it. That's the female I need to find. One that's like, I don't like receiving it. I'm like, good, because I fucking suck at it. Yes.
Yeah, no, like, and I don't know, because I feel like it tickles too much. Like, it's just not. It seriously, it does. It just, and everybody's like, oh, well, I haven't done it, so, and I'm like, no, just no. The one person I did do this with a few times, we tried it so many different ways, like on the floor so we wouldn't fall off the bed, sideways so maybe the angles could be better, and like the only way that I preferred it was with him on top, so then essentially he could still do all of the work. Don't get me wrong, I love giving. Like, I enjoy that more. Like, I would rather... Sex is great. It really is. But, like I previously mentioned, I don't have many orgasms. So, I would rather just, give BJs than have sex.
Okay. Okay, so my question is why? Do you prefer giving oral over actual intercourse? Because that makes no sense to me, so I need to understand this.
So like I mentioned, the whole orgasm thing, I can look at him and like see that he's enjoying it instead of like having to hear him grunt over me. And it makes good that I know that I'm doing a good job, which is why I think it's absolutely insane that you guys very rarely receive oral sex, especially you, James. Like, you're in a relationship and you don't get it, like, and you
Well,
don't.
she has like TMJ, and she can't really even fucking eat a cheeseburger, let alone suck a cock.
Well, at least she has a decent excuse.
I mean,
Yeah.
but she's good at it. Like, if she can do it, like when she gets like a little drinky, then like all feelings kind of go away, and then it's banging after that.
I don't want to toot my own horn or whatever, but a few times I told that I should teach a class. Like, that is that good. And I mean, I guess that just comes from, this is gonna sound slutty or whatever, but it comes from experience. But I mean, I've done that. I've actually done that more often than I've had sex. So.
Wow.
My retort to that was too far. So, because I had a really good one, and after listening to how bad I sounded last time, you were going to try to tone it down. So more of a, you see the gratification, and you're kind of like proud that you're doing that, proud of yourself for that accomplishment, more or less.
Yeah.
That's how all
Now-
should be.
now
I'm
do
sorry, but it is.
Right. Now, do you do yourself while doing him? You know what I'm talking about, right? Because it's kind of the whole turn on thing. Like, if you got clothes on and you're giving me head, that ain't cool. You gotta not
Okay,
have
well,
clothes on.
I will tell you guys, it's the most annoying thing for me when I'm providing a service and you try to fondle me while I'm providing the service. It gets irritating because I'm like,
Oh,
stop touching things and just like, you can whip them out, that's fine. Like, I'll whip them out, that's fine. You can look at them, but like, don't touch them because you're getting in my way and it's gonna slow down the process. And
You're a woman on a mission.
yeah,
Straight up.
pretty much. So then-
To get back to the actual the first topic, to answer the question, from your opinion, is 69ing worth it?
I guess it really just like depends on the girl. I wouldn't start out with that being one of the very few things that you do. I would see how she diddles your diddle and how you diddle her diddle, and then if you guys think that it would be a good thing to combine. If she's it and you're awesome at it, and then you try to do it, you're just gonna be like, this sucks. And it's really irritating when you think about the coordination of sex. Thinking about the coordination of that, like, oh, should I be on my side? Should I be on the bottom? Should I be on the top? Like, should we be on a couch? Should we be in a boat? So there's like equal rocking distance. Like, just, I don't know. It honestly just like, see if you're both good at it, and if you're not. So I'm like on the fence. She enjoys it, go for it. If you enjoy it, go for it. But also, I'm not a fan of staring down a brown eye. Like, I'm not.
Oh, neither am I.
Seeing that, like, I would rather him be on top, so then at least the balls are in the way.
See, that's the thing I've always thought of too. I'm like, she's gonna, like, her in her direct line of sight and giving my stank. I'd prefer that she didn't look at that, because it's probably a travesty. I have no idea what that thing looks like, but I'm assuming it looks like if Harrison Ford and Chewbacca ate Chinese and Han couldn't make it back to the bathroom at the ship and exploded in his pants, and Chewbacca was there and it got matted in his fur, I feel like that's what my asshole looks like.
Oh my. I've
Jesus
taken a
Christ.
picture of mine.
All of that aside, now let me ask you this then. James and I said he should try it at least once. Do you feel like he should try it at least once, or kind of feel it out and figure it out?
Well, that's why I said, like, he should see if she's good at, like, giving head, and if she isn't, then no. And if he's not good at giving head, then no. But if they're both good at it, then sure, try it, go for it. But if one of you doesn't fit the other part, it's like literally yin yang. Like, you gotta be the perfect balance to make that shit work. So if you're not, then don't try it.
Okay, so that's two of you should try it at least once, and one that's like, not so sure. So I think we can say that the majority says that you should try it at least once. What are your thoughts on it, Greg? Are you even interested?
I've been interested in that.
I'm pretty sure he's like, I want to do everything, okay? Everything. Speaking of doing everything, let's move on to this second topic. This second topic is, should prostitution be legalized? And I'm not just talking about like female prostitutes, I'm talking about male prostitutes too. Prostitutes in general, both male and female prostitutes. Should prostitution itself be legalized?
Several years ago, I was completely against it. Now, I'm not. I am completely for it, and I am for it for several reasons. One, because as I've noticed with drug prohibition doesn't work. Prohibition just makes people want stuff more, and they'll do they can to get it. That's not good, because sometimes they might do some really fucked up shit to get it. And if people are going to be prostitutes, wouldn't it be better to make it legal so that way they can get things like insurance and healthcare and other stuff like that? I mean, we already have strip clubs pretty much like prostitution already, with the actual physical act of sex. I mean, why not just go, one step further? I mean, it just makes sense. I mean, if you make it legal, prostitutes wouldn't have to work for like abusive pimps anymore. Like, because if their boss was abusive, they could actually like, go to the cops to have the fucker arrested. Whereas right now, since it's illegal, they can't do shit. So they usually just keep getting slapped around or even killed. Personally, I think it should be legalized because it would bring in a lot of money. There's really nothing wrong with it. People are going to do it anyway. I just think it would be better for the prostitutes themselves, so that way they aren't exploited.
Now, I gotta say that, like porn stars, they would have to pass regular testing.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have requirements where they have to pass regular testing and more or less get certified to be a prostitute, then you're gonna have all of a sudden this just spread of STDs.
STDs and shit. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's another reason and stuff like that. I mean, you go out and you pick up a prostitute, there's a pretty good chance that you're going to end up with a really nasty-ass STD or something like that. And also the prostitutes themselves, I mean, they can't do anything. They don't really have, like, insurance or anything to help them. To be
fair, they might have insurance, but you're talking about insurance through the job, more or less.
Health insurance is what I mean, not what you're thinking of.
I'm sure they have health insurance.
They don't have... basically saying that it would make sense to just legalize it, because then that would actually help the women and men in this field more than if they kept it illegal.
Greg, do you feel like you're so pro-prostitution being legalized because you want to legally hire a prostitute to just $69?
A little bit of column A, a little bit of column B.
I figured as much. Now, I have to say that I am also pro legalizing of prostitution. Many of the reasons that I had, actually, Greg listed. I say my biggest point to it is that there has to be, again, like porn stars, there absolutely has to be mandatory testing for STDs so that you don't end up with that widespread fucking disease through it. The biggest thing is people were just going to straight up say, like, this is immoral, which I could see where people could get to that point. Like, morally, I'm the type of person that cannot just go out and have a one-night stand. Like, something in my mind prevents me from doing that. It's probably partially because, I have a small D, and when you're dating a female, in theory, care a little bit more about you as a person than about your dick. By the time they see your dick, be like, well, he's got a lot more going for him than just that. So they're like, I can accept this. Oh, I can accept this. This is fine. I don't care just about the size of his D, a person, yada yada, and they just roll with it. But if you're having a one night stand, the whole point of a one night stand is to get your rocks off. And when you're coming in with a small D, the one night stand, the chances are the female doesn't care enough about you at that point to where they could literally be like, you need to put that little thing back in your pants and go somewhere with it that's not here, because I am not touching that thing. That's fucking embarrassing. I'm ashamed of you as a person, and I'm ashamed of myself for even seeing it. Say you have a small penis like I do, and you're not hooking up on a random one-night stand. If you're paying a prostitute, like, they cannot care about the size because they're getting paid regardless. So they can laugh in their minds or laugh afterwards about it. Doesn't matter. They're making their money, and you don't have to care because you're already low enough to the point to where you're paying somebody for services. So it wouldn't matter. Me, I couldn't do it. I couldn't go to a prostitute. I couldn't do that. Morally, I just couldn't do it. I wish I could. Fuck. You think I'd be in a 2-year fucking dry spell if I could just go randomly hook up? I feel like the reason Greg is so pro legalizing is because he knows that he can save up a little bit of money and go cash in, and there you go. It's legal. Who cares? The problem is you're never gonna eradicate the illegal aspect of prostitution because you would have to have like the testing and stuff like that, and those people that fail the testing, they'll have to like revoke their license or whatever you would call it to be a prostitute. They wouldn't be able to work certain places, therefore they're going to return back to the street and start doing it the way that it has, pretty much always been done. So you're never going to eradicate that. By legalizing it, it would make it safer for the mass population because, as Greg said, it's already happening. It's already going to be done anyways. It's going to continue to be done. So if the state or the government or whatever gets involved and is like, okay, you have to be certified, you have to do these tests, only take place in certain locations, much like what they're doing with marijuana, where it can be grown, where it can be sold, and everything. So you'd have to have like certain brothels and stuff like that. You have to have the mandatory testing, all of that shit, and the girls or men themselves would probably need to be required to use protection. Because you don't want to spread the disease, because if the prostitutes themselves have to go under the mandatory testing, the Johns or Janes would there would have to be protection required, and the state would say this is where you can do it, this is where you can't do it type shit, and then they're gonna get their cut. Taxes is the racket, it's the fucking mafia. They're gonna get their cut for you to be able to do it. So there's another taxable income.
Like you said, it can be legalized and stuff, and there's good purposes behind the marijuana and things. Like, they're using it for medicinal purposes. And there's some people out there who actually suffer from, certain amounts of pain that, only sex can help them through the pain.
Yeah, I suffer from that, too.
Yeah. And so I would imagine that, the legalization would make it easier for someone to be, for a company to be okay, well, I'm gonna hire this person to help out my person who needs the sex for a pain or something like that. But I'm not for it because it's just one more thing that's going to be monopolized. Who has the better, cleaner, the good-looking prostitutes, and then there's going to be, the taxing, there's pimps already, but just imagine, they're going to be taking one more thing that they control and jamming their fingers so far, going to be, the puppet master. Women, I'm not quite sure on the statistics of how much they make, but I've seen in movies, she spends a couple hours with the guy and makes, $2,000. Imagine how much she wouldn't get just because that was her legal job. She would probably lose around $500 every person.
Not to cut you off, the fact that the term that the way you put it was that they would have their fingers deep in it is fucking hilarious to me. And I must make that known, that the fact that we're talking about prostitution and you're talking about the government having their fingers all up in it. Go on.
The government would essentially be prostituting the prostitutes.
The government would be the pimp.
Yeah, it would just be one giant monopolized pimp. It would be like choosing Burger King over McDonald's or Starbucks over Dunkin' Donuts.
Can we throw Tim Hortons in there? Because Tim Hortons kills Dunkin' Donuts and Starbucks, but you guys don't have them down there in the South.
No.
You're missing out. Well,
and it would be whoever has the cheaper gas prices. It's whoever has the cheaper, uglier prostitutes. It wouldn't really make it fair. I know that people go to certain parts of town because there are things as escorts, and those things aren't really legal, but that's because they call them escorts. I don't think it would be a good idea. It could have some really good benefits, but in the end, I feel like it would just be creating a bigger disaster than we need.
I think whatever issue that you spoke of, that people need sexual release to deal with this problem, I suffer from whatever that is. And it writes me a note about that so that I can present that. I don't know what it is. Somebody Google that shit. I suffer from whatever that is, whatever that medical condition is. And like I said, I need a doctor to write me a note for that. And when prostitution maybe possibly becomes legalized, I will be certified for needing medical sexual gratification.
I think you have to meet certain height requirements for that.
Ha, ha, ha. James, what do you think? I wasn't asking James what you thought about the size of my dick. I was asking what you thought about prostitution being legalized. Should it be?
I thought it was. I didn't know it was illegal.
What?
Wow, really?
No, I'm just kidding. But like she said, they have like escorts or whatever. Like,
But it's an escort, not a prostitute. And when you're,
I know.
I was gonna say it's not like stated that this escort's gonna jerk you off, blow you, fuck you, whatever. That's not stated that that's going to happen. So that's why they kind of like get around it a little bit. But that's something that's really gray.
I just see why it's not legal. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay, so you're for it because you don't
Yeah.
understand why it's illegal?
Yeah, really.
He does bring up a good point. Like, what is the point of it being illegal?
I mean, we do it every day anyways. If we exchanged money, it wouldn't even matter.
Do you think it's because there's an exchange of money that makes it illegal?
Paying for a
That's-
service that isn't taxed, why it's illegal.
Why do you think it's illegal?
Because of that whole bullshit notion that we are a Christian country, which actually isn't true, because there were a lot of founding fathers who were Christian, but the vast majority of them weren't. The whole idea behind freedom of religion was that anybody could practice whatever they want. So to say that we are a Christian nation is kind of dumb.
Basically, you believe that the reason it's illegal is because of the church, because of religion, I
Pretty
should
much,
say.
yeah. Because of those uppity conservative douchebags who, basically, I'm going to say it's just politicians' fault. Because basically, them saying that people can't do a certain thing gets them off, because it means that they're keeping people from doing stuff that they don't like, or they're just doing it because they enjoy making people unhappy.
I've never sat and actually thought about, like, why is it illegal, and I was stumped there for a minute and had nothing when James brought up that point until Greg kind of brought up probably a religious thing, and I was like, yep, that makes perfect sense.
It's dumb, though.
But
Yeah.
Like, I don't even believe in religion. That's the...
yeah, it would be like we would have to go through so much just to get it to be a bill to even be legalized.
Well,
Like,
we had to go through a shit ton of bullshit to get pot legalized, and people
Exactly.
still put for that. So I'm pretty sure that if we could get weed legalized, I'm pretty sure we could get prostitution legalized.
I disagree.
yeah,
Because we've talked about it before on the show. Marijuana is going to be legalized over time. It's going to happen because like it's already happening. So it's already unpopular to be against it. By the time that our generation, or even possibly the generation before us, runs the country, it's going to be legalized. Gay marriage right now is like still, it's eventually going to happen, but it is getting fought so fucking hardcore, way more than what the legalization of marijuana is. So you gotta think about the fact that like if gay marriage can't even get legalized because there's so much against it, what the hell makes you think that prostitution will be legalized?
exactly. There's gonna be so many religious like riots over it, like literally making prostitution okay. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, but from their point of view, they obviously aren't. They're gonna think that we are making it to be a prostitute, like to sell yourself for money. Like someone could literally be like, "Oh, what do you do for work?" And you're like, "Oh, I'm a prostitute. I have sex for money." Instead of how it used to be, being ashamed because that's what you had to do, or not being ashamed because you just love sex and why shouldn't you make money for it? But the whole way that they have tried to form our country, they're trying to get rid of the whole gay marriage thing. That's why they didn't want to legalize it. They want to weed that out. They want a perfect, God-loving country, and prostitution.
She brings up a good point because if it was legalized, you could shoot for that as a legitimate career field.
Exactly. And then we'd all just be prostitutes and we'd have nothing.
It's not a career field you should shoot for. Make sure to listen to episode 70 for the end of this conversation. It gets a little bit deeper than expected, if you get what I'm saying. Mahoney, thank you for coming on again.
Always a pleasure.
That does it for another episode of 30 Minutes of Mayhem. I have been your host. My name is Michael Mayhew, and I have been here with my co-hosts,
Greg.
And James.
Don't forget to check us out on YouTube, iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, Android, all of those places, and donate to us on PayPal. That's it. I hope you have enjoyed this episode. Later, fellas.